Okay. I'm hoping you can see this. I can't tell. Okay. That's still my homemade drive shaft. I haven't had time or the resources to get one made for me yet, so. Okay. But a few of you might not have watched that video. So what I had to do is, when I was getting this car running and driving with the 4-speed, I didn't have a drive shaft, but because I didn't have one long enough to have shortened, so I had to do this. That is a Vega drive shaft with a little bit of a van drive shaft stuck in it, centered up with paper. It goes to about here, up inside this one. We centered it up best we could with paper, and I just went ahead and welded it. Then ground it down to try to make it not really have any high spots. And yeah, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. It's not a very good idea. But it's worked so far. I've put 500 miles on it with my homemade drive shaft. So eventually I'll get one this length. This is a perfect length. I'll get one made for it eventually. All right. So I'm gonna have to get back under here and re-zip tie my speedometer cable where I had it. But I got the transmission back in today, and okay, so I'm gonna explain this, and maybe a few people will understand it. That's a truck. Well, it's out of a van, but it's a truck bell housing, and truck bell housings had a bigger hole where the front bearing retainer goes into it than a Muncie. A Muncie, it comes down to now this is just a rough measurement, but look like that. So there's not much of a difference between the input retainer, bearing retainer, and the bell housing, and that's supposed to be what centers your transmission and your bell housing. Well, I made some spacers out of, I believe those are 1/4-inch nuts from Tractor Supply. We just put 4 of them around the outside of the bearing retainer, and I welded them to a nut, and that is what I centered the transmission to the bell housing with this time. So that's good. I redid my shifter a little bit because well, I'm still missing the front bolt, but this transmission was a bolt style shifter lever, and the one that I had in it was a stud style shifter lever. The stud style stuff is smaller than the bolt style stuff, so I had to make the holes bigger in the shift levers. But it works fine now. I readjusted everything and it seems fine. I also changed the transmission mount. I put the 400 mount back on it that I had on it, that I bought new for that 400. So all the bolts are in the transmission, everything's tight, and as far as that goes, it should be good. It should be done. Alright, I'll clean that a little bit more. But what that is the outer bearing for the front of driver's side front of my 67. That was used when I put it together. I greased it with old grease, and it was really just an experiment, and I'm pretty sure if you went back and watched that video that, you know, honestly, I was doing it just to kind of try to get, I guess, under people's skin a little bit. But I ran it. I did run it 500 miles. And the only thing that I can say about that old grease was it turned into oil. Now, I guess I could get some people riled up if I took air and spun it. You can't do that, you know, it's bad for it. Anyway. According to some people I've watched also, you're not supposed to reuse bearings. People apparently think stuff's a one-shot wonder. But if there's nothing wrong with them, why not? You know, keep the race and the bearing together and go ahead and reuse them. And seals. I might actually do a little better than that this time. That was my cotter pin. That's a nail. The races all look great. Alright. I re-greased the bearings. I set them back up. I tightened the brakes back down just a little bit because, well, I hadn't since I started driving it, and there was quite a bit of rust on those drums to begin with. Now there's not, so that'll be fine. I'll probably show a little bit of that in the next video because I gotta work on the rear brakes too in this, and I kind of have possibly be making my fade. I'm not sure yet, it just depends. But I'll show you something else next time, packing bearings or whatever. Bye.